Well, good morning. Hey, one of the groups of people that I just completely fumbled to thank is our Wyatt Park Church Foundation. When we started this debt campaign, this is a group of people that gifted the church with $500,000 to get this campaign started. So I'm sorry that I forgot to mention them earlier, but I just wanted to, it would be a mistake if I didn't say something about them and what all that they did for us. And so I just want to say that. Thank you so much to our Wyatt Park Church Foundation for their contribution to eliminating our debt. Yeah, thank you. Hey, today we're in Mark chapter 5. If you have your Bible, would you turn there with me? Mark chapter 5. We're going to be there this morning. First 20 verses of Mark chapter 5. Mark 5, 1 to 20. I don't know if you need to know this about your pastor or not, but I wear anywhere between a 12 and a 14 shoe. Usually it's a 13 wide is what I wear, but some boots and some shoes, not really shoes, but some boots I'm a 12, and most shoes, like a Brooks or a Nike, I'm a 14, okay? But I don't need you to buy me shoes, okay? I'm just letting you know. I was at a store here a couple months ago, and they were having a boot sale. And they had boots there that I liked them. They were size 14 wide. I put them on, fit great in the store. I brought them home, laced them up, and I could not be comfortable in these boots. And they were on such a sale that I couldn't return them. Like they were like part of the buy is like, hey, you're buying these and you're keeping them. We don't want them back, you know. And so I had to make a decision. What am I going to do with these boots? Am I going to keep them or sell them or what? And you know me, it wasn't a hard decision. I just put them up on Facebook Marketplace, you know, and on Friday night, my family and I were down in the basement. This is a few weeks ago, and that Friday night, actually, of the week that I put them up for sale, we were watching Hocus Pocus. You know, first time for me, I had never seen Hocus Pocus before. I was kind of surprised to learn that there was enough interest in this movie to make a second Hocus Pocus, you know, like. But midway through this movie, I get a message on Facebook, a guy that's here locally wanting to buy these boots. And I had to make a decision. Do I stay here with my family and watch this Oscar-worthy performance by Bette Midler, or do I deal with these shoes? This guy, he wanted to buy them, but he wanted me to deliver them to him locally. And so I agreed. You know, sacrifice time with my family for a few dollars, you know, and I said, send me your address. He does, and I get on my GPS, and Google Maps is the only GPS that's worthy of being used, friends. We've talked about this before. I won't go into it again, okay? But listen, I'm looking on the map, and I can't figure out where this guy lives. And I'm just like, this doesn't make any sense, you know, and it kind of looks like he lives in the middle of a field, and I don't know about this, and I'm kind of pausing, and he writes back, it's in the cemetery. That's all he put. Listen, I don't know about you, but like, common sense said this isn't a good idea. You know, like Friday night, dark, watching Hocus Pocus, and some guy wants to meet me in a cemetery to buy a pair of boots. You know, but I already told him I was going to deliver it, you know. And if I back out now, he's going to think I'm a sissy, you know what I mean? And like, I got a reputation to uphold, you know what I mean? And so like, I'm a man, you know, I mean, I wear a size 14 boots, you know what I mean? But so does this guy, you know what I mean? And so I don't know what I'm getting myself into. I really don't. And I said, I'll see you in 15 minutes, you know. Load my gun up. No, I'm just, But I'm trying to think as I'm driving to the cemetery, what have I got myself into? You know, like, I don't know what I'm doing, you know, and I'm like, I'm going to get there. I'm going to try to find a way to get out of here if I need to in a hurry, you know, and park in such a way that I can just go. I'm driving a truck. I'll be all right. You know, we can run over a few plots. It'll be fine, you know. But anyway, I get over there, and I don't know what to expect. And this guy comes out of his house, and I don't know. I never knew people lived in a cemetery. I didn't know there were houses in cemeteries. You all in Missouri are just weird. You know what I mean? Like there's Indiana, we don't do that. You know, that's not something we do in Indiana. But in Missouri, I guess people have houses. But this guy came out of his house, and he was like the nicest guy. Normal as could be, you know. And I don't know what to expect. I just didn't know, you know. What is a guy that lives in, what does he look like? You know, I don't know what to expect. But part of me, my mind went sideways in those 15 minutes. I'm not going to lie to you. I was thinking everything, and I almost thought he kind of looked like the guy in chapter 5. Verse 1, they came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gerasenes. And when Jesus had stepped out of the boat, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit. He lived among the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. For he had often been bound with shackles and chains, but he wrenched the chains apart, and he broke the shackles in pieces. And no one had the strength to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and on the mountains, he was always crying out and cutting himself with stones. Father, we give you thanks for the day. We thank you so much for the many blessings you've given to us. We thank you for this opportunity that we have together in this place to worship you. We thank you for your love, for your grace, for your mercy. Father, that you are the ultimate chain breaker. You are the God that takes what is unbreakable and breaks it, that frees what is bound and takes what is impossible in the eyes of man and makes possible. Father, I pray that the people that hear this message today would understand that is who you are. That is what you're possible. That's what you can do. That's your history. It's taking things that are impossible for man and making them possible. Father, I thank you for Jesus, for his life, for his death, for his resurrection, for the promise of his return, for his love for us. Father, I pray if there's someone here today that does not know of the love of Jesus, I pray that today would be the day of their salvation, a day where they admit that they are a sinner, a day where they believe that Jesus is the Son of God and confess Christ as Savior and Lord of life. If that were to happen, we would give you all the honor and all the glory. I pray for the believer that's here that may be struggling or going through hardship or difficulty. I pray that today is a time of renewal in their relationship with you, a day where they renew their love for you, where they sense your presence. They see your hand at work, and they remember their identity in you. Father, I admit that I'm a sinner. I admit this week that I've come up short. And Father, I pray that you forgive me of that. Cleanse me of the unrighteousness that is in my life and give me the grace that is needed to preach your word in a way to bring honor and glory for your name. God, we love you. We thank you for what you're doing at Wyatt Park and what you have done. Help us not get in the way of your will. Jesus, we love you and pray all these things in your name. Amen. If you can remember last week, Jesus and his disciples were in a boat and there was a storm, and Jesus, he calms the storm. And they are here today on the other side of the Sea of Galilee, the east side, and they are in Gerasene, a Gentile community. These people weren't God-fearing, and yet Jesus made it a point to go up there. Immediately as Jesus got there, immediately as he got out of the boat, what happened? A demon-possessed man came to Jesus. I mean, what a welcome for Jesus, a guy that does not want him there, just to come up and immediately greet him. What a welcome party that must be. But the word unclean here means evil. It's impure. We saw the same thing in Mark chapter 1. Jesus is in the synagogue and a man with an unclean spirit was there. But here, this man is alone, by himself, living amongst the dead. I mean, think about this for a second. Let's just make a list of the characteristics, the attributes that are listed in these verses. He had an unclean spirit. He lived among the tombs. No one could bind him or subdue him. He was too strong for shackles and chains. Night and day, he would cry out and cut himself with stones. I mean, how does that sound for you? I mean, which person here says, hey, you know what, that sounds pretty good. I'll take that. I'll take an order of alone, living in the tombs, living in the graves, isolated from my family, isolated from civilization. Nothing can bound him. Nothing can tame him. Nothing can keep him from hurting himself constantly. Does that sound pleasant? I kind of find it fitting that he was staying with the dead. I mean, this guy was a dead man walking. There's no way that he could possibly sustain this type of life. I mean, think about that for a moment. How do you sustain that? How do you survive that? No food, no water, no family, no community. I don't know about you, but I think if Jesus didn't show up, this man, he wouldn't have made it. I know some people in my life that if Jesus hadn't showed up in their life, they wouldn't make it either. They were on a path to hell. They were on a path to destruction. They were on a path to death. And Jesus showed up in their life. Here they are in the middle of a storm. Jesus and his disciples are in the Sea of Galilee. And where was Jesus in that boat? He was on the back, in control, knowing where to go, and immediately, as soon as he got out of that boat, it was almost like Jesus knew where he was going, knew where he needed to be, knew the person that needed him the most. Not an accident. Listen to how the man who is possessed by an evil demon spirit responds to his presence. Verse 6, and when he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and fell down before him, and crying out with a loud voice, he said, Jesus, Son of the Most High God, I adjure you by God, do not torment me. For he was saying to him, come out of the man, you unclean spirit. And Jesus asked him, what is your name? He replied, my name is Legion, for we are many. And he begged him earnestly not to send them out of the country. This is a man who was unable to be bound with shackles and chains, a man who turns metal chains and handcuffs into throwaway objects, a man that couldn't be controlled by his peers, by his family. His family had given up hope. His community had left him for dead. All hope had been lost. And here in this moment, he is able to run and to meet Jesus. And how does he respond? He bows down before him and speaks coherently. Friends, every knee is going to bow. Every tongue is going to confess Jesus is Lord. Every knee will bow. Every tongue will confess Jesus is Lord. Even those who do not believe. When you are face to face with Jesus, every knee will bow, every tongue will confess. Before I go any further, I just want to ask, as your pastor, when was the last time you got down on bended knee and humbled yourself and said, "Not my will, but your will be done"? God can do a lot with a man who is willing to humble himself, willing to get down on his knee and ask the Lord for help. When's the last time, friends? This man speaks to Jesus, but really it's the spirits within him that are doing the talking. We find out in verse 10 that the spirit's name is Legion because it's not just one spirit, but a multitude. A legion in the Roman army was a group of like 1,000 soldiers in one unit. Fitting for this man. There were many spirits that controlled him. They cried out with a loud voice, What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High? The demons understand Jesus' identity. The people of this earth at this point had no idea who Jesus. I mean, the disciples even were like, I don't know exactly. Like you can see there is an uncertainty that they have about the identity of Jesus, but the spirit, the spiritual world, even the demonic, those who are outside of this world understood with clarity precisely who Jesus was, who Jesus is. What do they ask Jesus? What have you to do with me? This is the equivalent of you walking into your kid's room and them saying to you, what do you want? What do you want? Why are you bothering me? They were annoyed with Jesus. And yet at the same time, they knew that the gig was up. They knew without a shadow of a doubt the gig was up. Their time of being in control was over. They are crying out loud. When we hear people cry and yell and scream, they're out of control. They have lost control. I don't want to tell you this. I'm not going to. I'm just not going to do it. I was going to share this with you, but I'm embarrassed. I'm not going to do it. Nope, I ain't going to do it. I already made up my mind. We're moving on. Thinking better of it. I'm in control. You know, there's times in my life when I'm not. I was going to share a moment of my life when I wasn't in control, but I'm not going to do it. What? This is peer pressure. I'm not going to take it, you know. The spirits understood that the gig was up, that they had met their match. Listen to what the Spirit asked Jesus. It's commanding the spirits to leave. As Jesus is commanding these spirits to leave, listen to what they ask of him. They plead with Jesus, don't make us leave this country. They beg with him, do not torment me. They beg of Jesus, do not let us leave this country. Don't let us leave this area. We want to control something. We don't want to be tormented. They're afraid. The demons, the evil, is afraid. And so they're begging Jesus, let us go into the pigs. A great herd of pigs was feeding on the hillside, and they begged him, saying, send us to the pigs, let us enter them. So he gave them permission, and the unclean spirits came out and entered the pigs, and the herd, numbering about 2,000, rushed down the steep bank into the sea and drowned in the sea. These demonic spirits, they plead with Jesus for mercy. They want to enter the pigs, and Jesus gives them their desire, and he sends them to the swine. 2,000 pigs, friends. And these spirits, they drive these pigs down the bank and into the water to their death. Have you ever wondered why this was? I mean, why does Jesus give in to these spirits? Why does he allow for these pigs to be destroyed? Do you feel bad for the pigs? I mean, I believe that Jesus does this for two reasons. First, to show the destructive nature of demonic forces, to provide light, to show who they truly are. Evil demonic forces come into this world, friend, for one thing. They come into your life for one thing, to seek and destroy. And they have no good intention at all. Church, you cannot allow Satan to have a foothold in your life. He doesn't want just a piece of your life. He wants to destroy your life. He wants destruction, not life, not peace, not harmony. He wants destruction. We cannot afford to give Satan any foothold in our life. We have to plead with God. We have to be men and women of discipline. We must be men and women who see Satan as a true threat to our spiritual life. Listen, one of the things you need to learn as a Christian is the devil is stronger than you. The devil is smarter than you. And if you allow him a foothold in your life, he will take your life and destroy it. Do not think for a moment that you are different than everybody else. You are not. You are the same sinner everybody else is. But you have Jesus Christ in your life. He has changed you. He has redeemed you. He has sanctified you. He has saved you from destruction. Don't allow that back. Don't allow what was once a source of pain and destruction in your life back into your life. If you're a Christian, friends, do not allow that to happen. Not one moment. You must flee from impurity. You must flee from demonic forces. You must flee from evil. And you must pursue righteousness. I think God, Jesus here, wants to show the world that if you allow evil into your life, doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter what it is, the result is destruction. Secondly, I think Jesus does this to show the spiritual condition of the community in which this man lived in. Verse 14. The herdsmen fled and told it in the city and the country. The people came to see what it was that happened, and they came to Jesus and saw the demon-possessed man, the one who had the legion, sitting there clothed in his right mind, and they were afraid. And those who had seen it described to them what had happened to the demon-possessed man and to the pigs, and they began to beg Jesus to depart from their region. These men, whose responsibility it was to care for these pigs, saw what happened, and they went into the community and they told everybody that would listen what happened. The townspeople came out to see Jesus, the demon-possessed man, who was in right mind, right clothing, healed of this demonic presence in his life. They heard what happened to the pigs. It was obvious what had been done. It was obvious. This man, their entire community tried to bind him, tried to keep him from destruction, chained him up, shackled him up. Nothing that they did worked, so they excommunicated him out to a place where there was nobody but pigs, nobody but the tombs. What they saw was an obvious hand of God, a work of God. It's obvious. No one could have done this except for God. When God is at work in someone's life, is it not obvious? When God is at work in a community, is it not obvious? When God is at work in the church, is it not obvious? When God is at work in a generation, is it not obvious? I'm not sure if you know this, but the Gen X generation, these young people, there is a revival that's taking place among them, not just here at Wyatt Park, but across the globe, across our nation. You can read statistics, you can listen to podcasts, you can see it on the news. College campuses all around the country are seeing revival take place. Last couple weeks ago, we had a guest preacher here named Mark Millman. Mark is a dear friend, alumni of the greatest university, Indiana State University, mecca of academic excellence, you know. But we have a mutual friend there that serves at Indiana State University. His name is Shan Smith. When I moved to St. Joe and became the pastor here, I asked Shan to come and serve as my associate pastor. I wanted him to be on staff with me. He was looking to make a transition in ministry, and Shan is tier one. I mean, he is phenomenal at what he does. And he said, no, he goes, I really believe that God has called me to serve in FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And I believe he's called me to serve here at Indiana State. I said, okay, I understand. And day one on campus for Shan looked like this. The president of the university sent him a letter and said, listen, you are in our kingdom, and you are not allowed to talk to any of our coaches, any of our athletes, any of our students, anybody on this campus. You are forbidden to speak to them. It was Shan and two students, not kids, students. That's it. First day on campus, unable to speak to anybody, forbidden by the president of the university. A high-ranking official of the NCAA called Shan, heard of this, said, hey, I'm flying to Terre Haute. We have a meeting with the president. Get ready. That day, he was given a letter saying he is allowed to minister on that campus. That president is no longer there, by the way. Today, Shan has been awarded by FCA the fastest growing chapter in FCA history. They have, on a weekly basis, 350 athletes at their weekly huddle. 70% of those are involved in a local church. 70%. The president of the university came to him and said, you don't know this, or maybe you do, but he goes, the athletes of Indiana State University are changing the culture at Indiana State University. They are changing the students, they are changing the coaches, they are changing the faculty. And Shan said, no, my students aren't doing that. God is doing that. This is God at work. When you see God at work, it's obvious, friends. It's obvious. When you see God at work, what is your response? Are you afraid or are you inspired? Does it cause you to have fear or does it cause you to have faith? Listen to what it did to this man that was possessed by the demon. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been possessed with the demons begged him that he might be with him. And he did not permit him, but said to him, go to your home, to your friends, and tell them how much the Lord has done for you, and how he had mercy on you, and how he went away. And he went away and began to proclaim Decapolis, how much Jesus had done for him, and everyone marveled. In this chapter, in these 20 verses, we see 3 different people begging Jesus for something. The demons are begging to go to the pigs. The community is begging Jesus to go away. And this man who was once possessed by a demon, is begging to go with Jesus. About a year ago, on a Wednesday, I met with two of our staff, Pastor Ken and Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this, but this time last year, it was August, September, and October, our financials were not great, our giving. All year, they were phenomenal. But like from January to July, our financial giving, our monthly giving was just fantastic. And then August, September, and October hit, and we were down tremendously. Our giving was down. And our stewardship committee at this time of the year is planning budget for 2025. And right now, they're budgeting for 2026. And it was hard. They were looking at the numbers and looking at the giving and like, I don't know how this is going to work. And they were cutting literally everything that they could cut. And the next possible thing that they could cut is what? Salaries. Understanding this, I'm discussing this with our staff. In our weekly meeting, I told Ryan and Pastor Ken, hey, they're cutting everything that they can. And if our giving doesn't go up in the next 2 months, this is a possibility. I don't want to bother you. I don't want to fear you with this, but at the same time, I don't want you going out and buying a new car either, That was a 1:30 meeting, a 2:30 meeting, and at 3:30, Julie, our administrative assistant at that time, comes into my office and says, Mary Hind of the Community Foundation wants to come over and bring a check to you, hand it to you. I said, is it for me or is it for the church? She goes, it's for the church. I said, oh, okay, I guess that's all right. So, listen, we either one of us could use the money. It's fine, but so I said, I got Wednesday night activities at 5 o'clock. As long as she's here before then, it's fine. At 4:30, she shows up and she hands me an envelope. And I said, well, can I look inside of this envelope? And she goes, yeah, please do. And it was a check for $470,000. It was like a movie, I'm sitting in my office stressing about numbers and finances, and God just says, you don't have no idea what's going on. You're an idiot for not trusting me. It's like I felt like I was in a movie. I say all this to say one thing, friends. We've been looking at miracles, and sometimes when we look at these miracles in the Bible, we think to ourselves, what? That was then, but we don't see these miracles today. But that's just not true. Friends, there are miracles all around us. And God is at work all around us. And friends, listen, if you need to see something or someone or an organization that has been unshackled, the chains have been broken free, look at this church. The campaign that we have is literally unshackled. There isn't a better example of God at work than this right here. What we've experienced and what we've seen in the last 2 years. I can't tell you how many people have told me, Lauren, she's my age. She's like, I didn't think I was going to live long enough to see us out of debt. And God knew all along this was going to happen. It was in God's plan. I'm going to ask you a serious question, friends. What do you think is next? What is next for Wyatt Park? This chapter that we are in, that we have been, is over. We are free. from debt. But listen, I believe that God has a plan for our church, that God is not done with Wyatt Park. And there is something that is next that he wants us to do. And today, during our invitation, what I'm going to ask you to do is something maybe a little bit different, something maybe that you don't feel comfortable with. But I'm going to ask you to join me. I'm going to come right here. I'm going to bend my knees, and I'm going to pray and beg with the Lord to reveal what his plan is for our church. And I'm going to ask you to join me, to come up here and to bend a knee and to pray. And maybe you feel like, I can't do that physically, I can't do that. I understand. Stay on where you are, sit where you are, and pray. Our worship team is going to sing a song of invitation. And maybe you're not quite there yet. Maybe you need to figure out what it is that God wants you to do next. And so if you would you stand with me and sing a song of praise? And would you come up and bend a knee and ask the Lord what's next?